All right. Well, hello and welcome back. Video 2 for personal finance. And today we're going to be looking at, or for this week, we're going to be looking at employability taxes. And the way that I like to talk about this or discuss it is really just kind of going through what a pay stub looks like, and just kind of explaining a few different terms that would be used when we look at the pay stubs. And so the first there's going to be about 6 of them. The first one that I'm going to go through with you is the word gross. Gross earnings. Gross is going to be the earnings before any deductions come out. So whether that's insurance or taxes, child support, anything that might come out of your paycheck, the gross dollar amount is the amount of money that you're going to receive on your paycheck before any deductions come out. Next one is net, N-E-T, net. And the net earnings are going to be the amount of money that you're left with after those deductions come out of your paycheck. So, for example, if you grossed $1,000, that's how much money that you would make for that week. And after deductions, you have $750 that you can use for your bills, your bank, to go into your bank account, things like that. Okay, so that's what net is going to mean. Numbers 3 and 4. Number 3 is going to be current. And what that's referring to is a specific pay period. So again, let's say that $1,000 is our example. We would make $1,000 as our gross earnings, and that would be our current amount. Okay, so the next one would be year to date. Now, the current just continually gets added up. So let's say that the second weekend for the pay period or for the year, you've made $1,000 each week. So by the second week, you've made $2,000 now. That would represent what the year to date would be. That's how much money that you've made up till this point of the current year. Okay. The last two go together, and they are regular and overtime. So regular pay would be like if you're a full-time employee and you work, typically speaking, they talk about 35 to 40 hours. 32 to 40 hours, something like that would be considered full-time. And if I'm working full-time and I'm making $10 per hour for my regular pay, up till 40 hours, I would make $10 an hour. So that would translate to $400 for that pay period. Now, if I work overtime, let's say I get 10 hours of overtime, a lot of times what they're going to do is they're going to take the dollar amount that you would make from your regular pay and take that times 1.5. So time and a half is how you'll hear that referred to. So if I'm making $10 an hour, my overtime rate would be that $10 plus an additional 0.5 or half of that amount, which would mean I would take 1.5 times $10 per hour, giving me $15 per hour. That's what my overtime rate would be. So if I took 10 hours times $15 per hour, that gets me another $150. That would then be added to $40 or $400 for my week, and then I would make $550 for the week. So maybe a little bit confusing at this point, which I intend on breaking down for you in just a second when we go over to when I share my screen with you and walk through a pay stub. So let's go ahead and do that now. And as you can see, this is somebody that was working, looks like they worked in California. If you look right here, California state tax is what's represented there. So we'll walk through this. Up here, this would be like the pay stub, the second half of your paycheck. So below this might be the actual paycheck that you would take into the bank and cash it, deposit it, that type of thing with it. Okay, so as I said, this looks like it's California. So how this is going to start off with is you've got the sample company name, sample company address. So whatever business it is that this person would work for would be listed right up here at the top. And then it would say earnings statement. Okay, so that's what this whole thing is going to represent. So employee name, James Robert, social security number, just has their last 4 of their social listed so that it identifies with this James Robert person. Employee ID number, not every company is going to have that, but this one looks like it does. And then check number is what's going to be next to it. So let's say that James Robert is employee number 1, and then you've got John Smith is employee number 2. He may see check number 259249. So whatever check number would come next in their checkbook is what would be represented there. Here's the pay period. So this is going to be something of an importance to you. This is how often these people get paid. So 1/23 of 2014 to 1/29 of 14 looks like their pay period. Okay, so they get paid every week. Some people might get paid every week. Some might get paid every other week. So a couple times a month. Some might get paid once a month. Those types of things. So it all depends on what the business does or the place that you work for. Might determine on how often you get paid. And every company might be different too. And so the next thing that we're going to look at is the pay date. And it looks like with pay date, it's going to be the 31st. So their last payday or pay period day is the 29th. Then this company needs a couple of days to process checks, things like that, to get it ready to get paid. Okay, so that's what the pay date would mean, the day that you actually would see that money. The gross wages, this is what I was talking about at the first part of this video. That's how much money that they're currently making before any kind of deductions come out. Okay, please understand that's really, really important that you understand the difference between gross wages and then the net wages. Gross wages is before any deductions come out of your paycheck. Okay, so this is going to be $1,000. So if they make $1,000 in a week, how much do you think that they're going to make in a year? If you said $52,000 in a year, you are correct. So if they get paid $1,000 every week, times 52 weeks in a year, it looks like they're going to make about 52 grand in a year. All right, so here's our deductions. So FICA med tax, FICA Social Security tax, these are going to be taxes that come out, federal tax, and they've got this California state tax. All of these, and then SDI, so state disability insurance, is what that one is. These are the deductions that are coming off of this paycheck. Okay, current total for deductions comes out of their current total gross wages. Year to date, this is just representing this number times however many weeks that they've had this taken out. I believe it's 5. I think this is their 5th paycheck of the year. And so these numbers would just represent these numbers times 5. Okay, you can look down here, 10 times 5 would be 50. So that's going to be pretty easy math for us to determine how often or how many times they've been paid so far this year. Down at the bottom, year-to-date gross, $5,000. So yeah, this is their 5th paycheck. Year-to-date deductions, that's going to be these numbers right here added up. This total should equal this $1,451.28. Okay. Year-to-date net pay, that's going to be this total gross, and then the year-to-date deduction subtracted from the total gross. That's going to give us our net pay for year-to-date. These numbers down here at the bottom, finally, that's going to be on this paycheck. So when we go to the bank, or when we look in our deposit forms or whatever, our bank account, we're going to see the total amount of $709.74 actually deposited into our account. Okay, so just over $700. So it looks like they had about 29% is taken out of for their deductions. Okay, so the next part, this is your assignment. This goes directly along with what I just went over with you, and here's how this is going to go. This is the actual sheet that's attached inside of Canvas, and you'll just answer these 7 questions. So number 1, what is the net pay? In order to come up with that net pay, if you remember, the net amount is going to be the pay after all of our deductions are taken out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look down here, and we can see that for this period, that's the amount of money that is going to be our net money, our net pay. Okay, number 2, what is the gross pay? Well, that's before deductions come out. Okay, it looks like we get holiday, we've got overtime, we've got regular, these are going to be the total amount of dollars or hours that we have worked or that we're getting paid for. So before any deductions come out, this is going to be our earnings before our deductions. Okay, so this is going to be our gross pay right here. What is this person's per hour rate, and how many hours did they work this week, this pay period? Hourly looks like they're $10 an hour. This should be a dollar. So these are going to be dollars right here, these rates, and then it looks like they worked 32 hours for regular pay. You could put in overtime, 1 hour that they got of overtime. You could put in holiday. Any of this information right here is what I'm looking for with question number 3. Are they salary, commission, or hourly? They're obviously hourly because we know right here they get paid $10 per hour. That's their regular pay. What is the total amount of taxes, not deductions, taken out of their paycheck? So the total amount of taxes taken out of their paycheck, well, anything that has a tax behind it, federal income, Social Security, Medicare, this one's from New York, so New York State, New York income. These are your taxes. These are other deductions right here, but those are not taxes. Those are insurance. 401k is going to be your life insurance, stock plans. They must have some sort of share, union dues, things like that. Those are all deductions, but just these are the taxes that are coming out. So I want you to total up this amount right here, add these up and total them, and that's the answer to this question. Life insurance, I noticed down here that they've got life insurance. Anytime you see a positive, that's something that's added back in. So maybe the previous month they took too much out, so they're adding more back in. All right, where are we at? What is the total? So we got that one, number 6. What is the total gross earnings for the current year? So total gross, remember this is our gross amount right here, right? So I can put in here gross. Okay, so this is our gross pay, year total earnings. You don't have to do any math. You just put in this 23,526.80. That's going to be your answer for number 6. What is the gross earnings year to date? Okay, how much would the year-to-date deductions be? This one you're going to have to do a little bit of math, and you will add these things up. Okay, you're going to find out what the deductions are going to be. All right, so total gross earnings for the current year are going to be here. How much would the year-to-date deductions be? Year-to-date deductions right here. So you're going to add these numbers up. That's going to be your answer for number 7. All right, so that pretty much covers this first part. I've just got one additional part for you. I'm going to show you a little video here real quick. I think it's about a 2 to 3 minute video that talks about where does your money go. The important thing that I want you to understand with this is you need to understand and learn what comes out of your paycheck, the difference between gross and gross and net pay, but also where does that money go? It's not fair to say, why do we have to pay taxes? It doesn't go for anything for me anyways. You need to understand where that money actually goes to. So that's going to be the next part. I'm going to share with you a really short video. It's about a 3-minute video or something like that. And then I'm going to talk about your assignment briefly. And then that way you can get started. You'll have 2 assignments this week to work on. This first one is exactly what I just shared with you right here. Your second one is going to be doing a little bit of tax research.
Here's your paycheck.
Oh, yeah, my first paycheck. All right. What the? I earned $2,100, but I'm only taking home $1,600. What gives?
Yeah, I get that a lot. You're expecting something a little bigger, huh?
What? Who's talking?
It's me, down here.
Huh?
There's a reason your take-home pay isn't higher. Taxes.
Man, I hate taxes.
Hold on there, big guy. Just like I'm your income, taxes make up the government's income. Without taxes, our government couldn't provide services that people want and need.
Yeah, but where do all my taxes go?
Funny you should ask. If you got a minute, I'll tell you the story of your federal taxes.
Yeah, geez, sounds thrilling. But bummer, I've got that combo colonoscopy root canal.
Sit down and listen. Did you know that the U.S. federal budget is more than $3 trillion? How the government raises the funds to pay the bills and thinks about spending affects you directly. Let's start by looking at my stub.
Okay.
First, here's your FICA, or payroll taxes. They're collected from both you and your employer, and they pay for things like earned benefits. They flow into a pot of money called trust funds. Now, let's look at your federal income taxes. They go into a much larger pot of money called the federal fund. Between your FICA taxes and income taxes, folks like you are the government's main bill payers. Now let's talk about borrowing. When the government spends more than it takes in, it has to borrow. Borrowing, the deficit, is larger when the economy is bad. More people are unemployed and paying fewer taxes, and there's more need for government services. Borrowed money contributes to the federal fund as well. That's the government's income in a nutshell.
But what does all that money buy?
Now, my friend, that's the trillion-dollar question. In 2013, the government will spend more than $3.7 trillion broken out into 3 chunks: mandatory, discretionary, and interest on our national debt. Remember those FICA taxes you paid? They go to trust funds, which help pay for mandatory spending that's required by law. For example, Social Security and Medicare. Everyone over 62 is eligible for this support. A big portion of federal funds, that is your federal income taxes, goes to discretionary spending that happens at the discretion of the president and Congress every single year. One discretionary item, for example, is the military. 57% of all discretionary spending goes to fund the military. Now, look down here. 6% of discretionary spending goes to education for things like Head Start and community colleges and Pell Grants. Discretionary spending plus mandatory spending plus interest we have to pay on our national debt equal all federal spending. But the story doesn't end there. States and cities and towns count on a sizable chunk of this federal money. People like you also get money from the federal government when you need it, in the form of support like unemployment and disability insurance. In 2010, folks in Colorado received an average of $4,081 each. Any questions?
Yeah, but what does any of it do for me?
Really? Just a few things like making sure you breathe clean air and drink good water, making sure all people have access to affordable housing, funding for your favorite national park, cancer research, and elder services.
All right, so to kind of summarize everything, the first part of this was talking about pay stubs, how much money you would bring in as a gross amount before any deductions come out. Then second was net pay, how much money you're left with to use towards your bills and the things that you would like to buy. And then it gets into, like I said in that short video, it talks about why money comes out of our paychecks, where it goes, and what it's used for, and that type of thing. Now, the second part, a little bit more of your assignment, is going to get into talking about the amount of money that goes towards these things. And I want you to look into some specifics. So the way that your assignment is set up in Canvas, create a PowerPoint or research paper. Most people tend to do a slideshow, slide presentation, Google Slides, that type of thing. Either way would be fine, slides, or if you wanted to do research paper, either one's fine with me. So if you do the PowerPoint, minimum of 8 slides plus title and reference, so you'll have 10 slides total. Use images and explain the following. How much of the total income tax goes towards this category, and what exactly is it used for? How does it benefit being funded by income tax? Do you agree or disagree with the amount and reason for using income tax? The slides should discuss this. The slides discussing this should consist of 4 sentences, each for full credit. Now, what I'm really looking for is I want you to pick, and you can pick 2, you could pick 3, you could pick 4 different categories if you want. Whatever is going to be easiest for you. And I've included these 10 categories right here. So, like I said, if you want to use just one and do all of your research on just that one, that's fine. If you want to do multiple looks at it, that's fine as well. Big thing that I'm looking for is right here. Do you agree or disagree? Let's say at the national defense, let's say out of the big pie, let's say that there's 30% of all money goes towards the military, okay, that comes out of our paychecks. Do you think that that's a fair amount? You'll look at it and you'll see, how many billions, trillions of dollars that go towards it. Is that a fair amount? Do you think that more should go towards that or less should go towards it? And then why? That's really the big question that I want you to look at with this. How much money comes out, why it comes out, if you agree with it, and then why or why not. You'll find that these are some pretty interesting places where our money goes to. So feel free to explore more than one, like I said. I've attached a couple of different websites down here for you. Let me know if you have any questions about those, but those will help you. Those go into a little bit more detail and maybe even give you some statistics that you can use for this assignment. All right, well, that pretty much summarizes everything for this week. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Don't be frustrated or confused at the beginning of this with some of the, why or where the money goes and the pay stubs and things like that. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I want to do whatever I can to help you get through this assignment and understand more about your income tax and this tax research. Thanks, and have a great week, everyone.